If you clicked on this video, more than likely you want to be financially free at some point in your life. And it's a goal that's becoming more popular by the day, especially in 2026. And for most people, when they talk about financial freedom and they try to tell you how to get there, a lot of advice is going to be revolving around growing your income. They're going to tell you to get a side hustle. They're going to tell you to start a YouTube channel, start a SaaS company, learn how to code, become a software developer. And let's be honest, obviously, having a lot of income does make achieving financial freedom a lot easier. But my issue with this advice is I know plenty of people who make 2x, 3x, 4x the money that I make, yet all of them live paycheck to paycheck. They're all going to retire at 65, and they're probably going to be wage slaves the rest of their life. So if financial freedom was all about income, why do those people not have it yet? Why are they not financially free? Well, it's because, in my opinion, financial freedom is achieved simply through the habits that you're willing to add into your life. And I believe that no matter the income level you are at watching this video, you can reach financial freedom by just doing the simple things right. And it doesn't require a $100,000 a year job. So in this video, I'm going to go over what I believe is the simplest path to financial freedom, no matter the income level you're at. So let's get into it. So in my opinion, the first step to getting to financial freedom is you need to set the right expectations for what financial freedom actually means to you. And I would recommend sitting down for maybe half an hour and really thinking about your definition of financial freedom. And this matters a lot more than people think, because if you don't define financial freedom correctly for yourself, you're going to end up chasing the wrong version of it. And what I mean by that is when most people hear financial freedom, they're probably going to picture someone who is making millions of dollars, has crazy houses, they never work a day in their lives. They have 20 different cars, they have 20 different watches. And when that's your standard for financial freedom, it feels very unrealistic that you'll ever be able to achieve that. So a lot of people, what they do is they put it off because they think they'll never be able to get there, or they believe that they need to make a ton of money before you even consider being financially free. So they'll think, well, before I get my finances in check, I need the income part of it. But in reality, I believe financial freedom is a lot simpler than that, taking out the income portion. In my opinion, it's literally just being able to cover your expenses without consistently thinking about it. It's having the ability to step away from a job or a situation you don't need to get yourself into. It's not feeling stuck in any job or lifestyle just because you need the paycheck. And in my opinion, that's really it when it comes to financial freedom. So once you start looking at it through that lens, it becomes something you can actually work towards right now and not some far off goal that is only going to happen if your life goes perfect. What's nice about this version of financial freedom too is it also keeps you very grounded in your lifestyle. Once you have the correct definition of financial freedom, you stop comparing yourself to people who are online showing the best versions of their lives, or you stop chasing things you don't really even care about, and you can start focusing on what gives you more control and more financial peace on a day-to-day basis. Because at the end of the day, financial freedom, it's never really been about having everything. It's just about getting to a point where you don't feel like money is running your life anymore. So that is definitely step number one, in my opinion. So now that we have the correct definition of what financial freedom means to us, I think the next step in the path of trying to reach financial freedom is you need to learn the correct way to be cheap while still enjoying your life. And I know cheap gets a negative connotation. A lot of people think, oh, because I'm cheap, I'm never going to enjoy my life. I'm never going to have fun again. But when I say be cheap, I think what I'm really trying to say is we need to all get smarter about the big expenses that are costing us thousands of dollars a month. And when most people think about cutting things out and being cheap, they think about cutting out their morning coffee. That's $4. They think about the random subscriptions that cost them $19.99 a month. And while those are great things to focus on, they ignore the $3,000 a month in rent that they pay for a luxury apartment that they shouldn't be paying. And this can also drill down to your car or where you live or just how you go about big purchases, because this is where the real money is. If you buy a brand new car instead of a reliable used one, that decision alone can cost you tens of thousands of dollars over time and set you back 10 to 20 years of financial success. And you get the same outcome with a new car and a reliable used car. You still get from point A to point B, but way more expensive. Same with housing. Living slightly below what you can afford, it creates extra room every single month. But living at your max does the opposite. So this step isn't about cutting everything out. It's just about looking at the big decisions and asking, is there a cheaper way to get the exact same result? And most of the time, there is. I like to talk about my college experience all the time. I went to a very small local college and I still have a bachelor's degree that recruiters love to look at. And I went to college for $7,000. I know people who are $200,000 in student loans in debt just to have a degree themselves. And every time you choose the cheaper option on those bigger purchases, you create more breathing room in your budget without really changing your day-to-day life. And that extra room is what allows you to save more, to invest more, and to move faster without really needing to earn any type of extra income. So yeah, you need to be cheap where it actually matters and not just accept that big purchases by default are always going to be expensive. Now, the next step is creating a gap between what you earn and what you spend. And this arguably is probably the most simple step, but at the same time, it's probably one of the hardest steps. And this is the whole game of finances. Look, if nothing is left over at the end of the month, there's nothing to build with. It doesn't matter how much money you make. If you make $300,000 a year, but you spend $400,000 a year on random purchases, watches, cars, houses, it all gets spent, you're going to stay in the same spot. You're never going to be financially free. So the goal is simple. You need money left over at the end of the month. It's very black and white. And it doesn't have to be a huge number. And this is where a lot of people get worked up and set themselves up for failure because they think, okay, a gap, let me have $1,000 gap at the end of the month. It can literally be $50. It could be $100. It can be $200. All you need is consistency to start gaining any type of momentum. And there's two ways to create this gap. You can either spend less or you can earn more. And like I said at the beginning of this video, I don't really like talking about earning more because in my opinion, that is more time. It's harder. It's harder to achieve. It's going to take, a few weeks, a few months, a few years. At this stage, usually it's a lot easier to just spend less and control your spending. Look at your fixed expenses, right? This can be your rent, your car, your insurance, because that's where most of your money goes. And if those are way too high, everything else is going to get very tight. Then you need to look at your variable spending and cut the stuff out that doesn't really matter to you. And once you can create that gap, this is where things actually start to move forward in your financial freedom journey because that extra money is going to become your savings, it's going to become your investments, and it's going to become your progress. And without a gap, there's no progress to really achieve. So before anything else, you need to make sure there's consistently money left over at the end of every single month and make it a very realistic number. And don't be ashamed if it's not that big of a number because as long as you can repeat this consistently, you can start making true progress. So once we have the correct definition of financial freedom in our head, we create a little gap between our spending and our earning. We're able to pay down our high interest debt and we kind of learn how to navigate big expenses through a cheaper route. The next step is you have to start saving your money aggressively. And once again, all these steps are very simple, but very hard to do in practice. But once you can start saving aggressively, this is where the real progress starts. And I'm not talking about 5% or just whatever is left over randomly. You need to be very intentional about how much money you save because saving money is going to give you a lot of control in the short-term aspect of your finances. This is what's going to go towards your emergency fund. This is what's going to cover big expenses without going into debt. And it's what's going to give you the ability to kind of move without everything falling apart in your finances. And the more money you can save early on, the faster you kind of build that base. And this, once again, this doesn't have to be complicated. All you need to do is set a reasonable, realistic target that actually makes sense. And more importantly, automate it if you can, and then just treat saving like a fixed expense, the same way you would pay rent or a bill. It gets done no matter what, right? So if you try to save $300 a month, if you had a bill for $300 a month, you're not going to skip that. So why would you skip out on savings? Because every dollar you save now is one less dollar that you actually have to figure out later. And once that savings base is built and you have a nice little emergency fund, that's when you can start shifting more of that money into investing. And now we can actually focus on growing it. You need to build the base. You need to build it aggressively through saving money. Now that leads us into the next step, which is investing aggressively. And once your savings are in place, your job now is to start putting as much of that extra money to work as possible. because savings protects your money while investing grows it. So savings is more of defense, investing is more of offense. And you don't need to pick stocks, you don't need to time the market. The goal is to consistently put money into a solid long-term investment, whether it's an index fund or whatever it might be, and let time do the work. And the aggressive part is not about taking risks. It's about how much money you're putting in and how consistent you're able to be with it. If you're saving a large portion of your income and steadily investing it month after month, that's going to create you a lot of growth over time, because the more money you have invested, the more your returns actually start to matter. And over time, those returns begin to do a lot more work than you actually have to do to grow your money. So once again, keep it simple. Pick a very simple strategy. I would pick like a 1 to 2 fund portfolio, stick to it and keep adding to it. No overthinking, no constant changes. Don't even look at the investment app. And more importantly, if you can, automate it and just consistently invest over a very long period of time. And that leads us to the last part, which is the least fun part. And truthfully, you just have to repeat this for years and not get discouraged, because nothing I talked about in this video realistically is complicated. The hardest part is actually consistently doing this long enough to see results. And at first, it is going to feel very slow. I've been probably investing for 3 years now, and I still really don't feel a huge difference. But if you're saving, you're investing, you're doing everything right. And it doesn't feel like much is really changing because your numbers are not going to be huge yet. And it can feel like you're not really making any real progress. And that's completely normal. These steps and this simplicity of reaching financial freedom only works if you're able to give it time and you're willing to be patient, because the results are not linear with financial freedom. They're not going to go up right away. It's going to be a very slow process. But once it all starts snowballing, it's going to feel like you're making a lot of progress very fast, even when it feels boring and feels like nothing's going on, because most people don't fail at this because they have the wrong strategy. They just fail because they stop way too early. And you can definitely avoid that if you just stick to it. And if you can do that, you're going to be way ahead than most people. So that is pretty much it. That is the simple path, and there's no secret strategy or no perfect timing. These are literally the steps that I followed and I'm still following to this day. And I started all these steps when I was making $19 an hour. And it's just doing a few simple things over and over and over again and making them a habit so you can repeat them. You have to set the right expectations. You have to create a financial gap. You have to be smart with your spending, pay off debt, save aggressively, and invest aggressively. And then you have to repeat that for years. And that's how people actually become financially free without having to stress about running a business or having side hustles or growing their income to over $100,000 a year. This is how normal people on a day-to-day basis become millionaires and become financially free. And it's not flashy, but it definitely works. And if you can stick to it, you'll look up in a few years from now and realize that you've come a very far way. So if you're able to take away anything from this video, I want it to be this. You don't need to do all these steps at once, right? You just need to do the right things consistently over a long period of time. Pick one, get good at it, go to the next. Pick the other, get good at it, and go to the next. And that's pretty much all you need to become financially free. And in my opinion, those are the simplest steps to actually reach financial freedom. So if you guys enjoyed this video, I'd appreciate a thumbs up and a subscription, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. See ya.